Well, first of all, I want to thank everyone who helped to get my last video reinstated on YouTube. I'm very grateful to everyone for their support on that. I want to thank YouTube as well, obviously, for reinstating it. But most of all, I want to thank all those people who flagged the video in the first place, for giving us all a bit of fun and for taking a dump in their own oatmeal. Because it's thanks to those people that that video is now all over the internet and all over YouTube like a rash, which just goes to show what can be achieved when we all work together. Thanks, guys. I was told that it was removed because it violated YouTube's guidelines on hate speech, in particular where I referred to the entire country of Saudi Arabia as mentally ill. So let me just clarify that point now to avoid any future confusion. It's my belief that the laws which govern the country of Saudi Arabia are insane and wicked laws, and that the people who enforce them are seriously mentally ill. Of course, there are people in Saudi Arabia who disagree with those laws and who would rather things were different in that country, and I wouldn't mind betting that the majority of those people are female. However, they still have to live in a society which is governed with an iron rod by superstitious barbarians and policed by violent fanatics. In other words, a society which is in fact mentally ill. And as if to illustrate the black hole of sexual repression that is Saudi Arabia, just this week, a senior Saudi cleric, an Islamic scholar, if you'll pardon the expression, has said that women who wear the burqa should show only one eye, not two, because showing two eyes could make a woman seductive and tempt some unfortunate man into raping her through no fault of his own. And it's this kind of attitude that governs Saudi Arabia and convinces me that Saudi Arabia's influence on this planet is a thoroughly cancerous one and the worst advertisement for any religion that it would be possible to imagine. Even Scientology looks good next to the Wahhabi doctrine, a twisted, malignant mutation of Islam which is as vile and as inhuman an ideology as Nazism. And that's really all I was trying to say. I also believe that the Sharia courts which have been established here in Britain and which reflect the mentally ill laws of Saudi Arabia are the thin end of an ever-thickening wedge of Islamic medievalism that's being hammered up our fundament by the Saudis with the connivance of our own government. Our Prime Minister wants London to be the Sharia banking capital of Europe. I'm not sure why. Maybe he's got a side bet with the Dutch and the Swedish governments to see who can completely Islamicize their societies first. Either way, they say money talks, and right now in Britain it's talking Arabic. But I guess that's what happens, isn't it? When the most backward society on the planet happens to be one of the wealthiest. They can simply bribe their values into places where they don't belong and where they wouldn't be tolerated for a second, if not for their money. Saudi money is responsible not just for forcing the British government to cravenly break its own laws, not just for the various pressure groups of Islamist fanatics who claim to speak for all Muslims in Britain, but also for the hundreds of mosques that have been established here in recent years, including the one in London that was exposed recently on television for allowing hate speech to be preached in its purest form. Specifically that Muslims should hate anyone who isn't a Muslim and that apostates and homosexuals should be killed. They couldn't quite make up their minds whether these people should be thrown from the top of a mountain or stoned to death or both, leaving another tricky theological poser for the scholars. But allowing these courts into Britain is not just pandering to Saudi money, is it? It's also a cynical and I think quite typical vote-whoring tactic by the Labour Party, of which I'm ashamed to admit I used to be a card-carrying member. Now I wouldn't vote Labour again at gunpoint, because, like many people, over the last 11 years I've realised that a vote for Labour is a vote for Islam. And although I like and admire certain individual Muslims as people, I've seen enough of Islam to know that I don't want it anywhere near me, and I don't want any of its values enshrined in the laws of the country I live in. I want to see Islam relegated to its rightful place in society as a non-influential, non-intrusive spiritual belief system. And that's really what this petition was all about. It did quite well in the short time that we managed to publicise it, but now it's closed. However, there is a new petition which runs until the end of the year, which should give everyone the chance to spread it around far and wide. If people know about this, they will sign it, because you know that all your friends are just as sick as you are of having Islam rammed down their throats and being called racist if they complain about it. So maybe this time we can get enough signatures to make this genuinely newsworthy and give this disgraceful government the kick in the crotch it's been asking for. Oh, and if the people who flagged the last video could do me a huge favour and flag this one as well, I'd be most grateful. Thanks again for all your help. Peace.